What you're doing that for? We're not having that. Like more and more surveillance, more and more control, carbon taxation, and all this stuff that comes in. So you don't just announce it openly. You play problem, reaction, solution. Stage one, you create a problem. It could be a terrorist attack like 9/11. It could be an economic crash like 2008 and since. It could be a government crash, whatever. Whatever problem you can offer a solution to that would advance your agenda. So stage one, you covertly create a problem. You then tell the public through an unquestioning, and I worked in it for a long time, unquestioning mainstream media, the version of the problem you want them to believe, i.e. 9/11 was caused or orchestrated by a guy in a cave in Afghanistan. I hope he had a mobile phone with a big battery. The economic crash was caused by this or that and what have you. And then you want a reaction at stage two from the public of fear, of outrage, and something to the effect of something must be done. What are you going to do about this problem? And then those who've covertly created the problem got that reaction, either do something or accepting what they suggest they have to do. When Tony Blair said, and if ever there's a half-truth in a Tony Blair speech, it's a typing error. We said one thing that was true, because he knew it was true. That is, the world changed on 9/11. Why? Because it was meant to change. All this police state, all these wars, they all come from that original driving force called 9/11, and that's why the world's changed. So without 9/11, all this stuff would not have been justified. So all these people that are pushing these wars and pushing more and more surveillance, more and more control, more and more police state, and it comes down eventually to have been triggered by one event, which was supposed to be Muslim terrorists who couldn't fly Cessnas properly somehow manifested this unbelievable ability to fly wide-body jets in ways that a Lufthansa pilot, German airline, told me he couldn't do after 28 years of flying them. So, I mean, if one strand of the 9/11 official story is true, then this strand and that strand can't be true. A 15-year-old or less could take it apart. The mainstream media, unfortunately, don't seem able to or are unwilling to.
Who are the powerful families in Australia?
Well, in the end, you know, the Rothschild influence is everywhere. And, you know, if you look at people in Australia will know the families better than I will, having the fact that I don't live here. But you look at the major families that are influential in media ownership, in corporation ownership, in manipulating or being part of the political system, and there you're going to see the families.
Like the Murdochs, maybe.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, dear, Murdoch. What? Absolutely. And what did the Murdochs of this world control? They control so much of the information that people receive. Now, from what do people get their perceptions of the world, perceptions of themselves, and perceptions of current events from? The perceived information about what's going on. If you make that tilted, and it's massively tilted, so you give a certain version of what's going on and ignore the rest, i.e. you take an American government under George Bush and a British government under Tony Blair, who provably lied through their teeth about weapons of mass destruction in Iraq. And it's coming out more and more in these various inquiries that they did it absolutely knowingly, so they did. They were the same people that told us the official story of 9/11. So we've got a media that says, oh, yeah, they did lie over weapons. Yes, mate. But the same people are telling you the official story of 9/11, and you're repeating it as if it's official history. This is what I mean, that if you control the information that people receive, you dictate, unless they really are open-minded people that do their own research, you're dictating their perception.
Now, there's anti-globalisation protesters who would generally agree with you, and then they say you take it too far when you talk about the 13 families, because you go back and then it's like, do they come from another planet? Were they another life form? Were they lizards? And
lizards, that's right. I was waiting for the lizards.
And that kind of throws people off.
Well, let me say this. I don't care. You know why? I'm interested in the truth. And the truth is what I will pursue. And the truth, as the information I've come across makes me see it, is what I will communicate. And I would say to the G8 and G20 and globalization protesters, it's not me that's gone too far. It's you that's not gone far enough. When you see the incredible coordination of the attacks on humanity, in terms of finance, in terms of governments, in terms of the stuff in food and water. You got fluoride in your water in Melbourne and in Sydney.
But what's that got to do with like creatures from other planets then?
Never mind creatures from other planets. I mean, that's a very, very deep subject. And as I told your producer, if people want to talk to me for hours about it, I will. But I'm certainly not going to talk about massive concepts and stuff that take a lot of explanation. Because
we've got time.
I know you're interested, but I ain't going to have the time here to talk about it at the length that is necessary to explain it in a logical fashion. Thus, what's the point? People can get the fine detail in the books if they want. But the thing is that we are looking at this incredible attack on humanity, stuff in the water. What does fluoride matter? I'll tell you what fluoride matters. It was used in the concentration camps in Germany to suppress and make more docile the inmates. It's been shown to be a suppressor of brain activity. Fluoride in your water that you are drinking every day actually is a waste product of the aluminium industry. It's used in sarin nerve gas. It's used in Prozac. This is the stuff they're putting in the water. Another thing, and more dentists, like the global warming scientists, who went with the official line for a long time, are now coming out and saying, actually, it's really bad for you. I mean, tell people with fluorosis, that terrible discoloration of the teeth, that fluoride is good for teeth. It's not. So why would the people running Australia put this stuff in the drinking water? If people are manipulated enough to believe fluoride is good for their teeth, they're getting it in toothpaste anyway. Why would they put it in the water, giving people no choice, unless they'd use bottled water, than to drink it? Why would they do that? Why would they put chemicals and chemical concoctions in the food, massively emphasized targeting children, that changes their behavior and causes this thing called attention deficit disorder? And what do? He's got attention deficit disorder. We need to give him this mind-altering drug. Why would they do that?
Well, what's the answer to that?
Well, the answer is what I said right at the start. There is a global network which has a centre point in Europe, and it dictates global policy through its subsidiaries in each country. Now, why are the same people that are putting fluoride in your water, that are putting this rubbish in the food, also pressurizing and sometimes through law imposing upon people, parents, that they should vaccinate their child with this rubbish to this extent before the age of 2, never mind after that? Why? Because there is... And why is it happening in every country? Because this web is coordinating it. And this is why, people that get into politics who are genuine, and you'll have come across them, Bob, rarely probably, but we all have. They're the ones that never become prime minister, never get into government. It's the people that get into government that are serving this agenda because the networks manipulate them into government. Julia Gillard is not running this country for Australians. John Howard wasn't running this country for Australians. Abbott won't run this country for Australians. They run it for the cabal. And that's why we have this outrageous situation. And Australia is a wonderful example. You have this massive area of land. You have enormous resources. There are 22 million people on this massive area of land with this massive resources. And there's people sleeping rough in the streets. There's people going without food. There's people going without basics. What on earth is going on if this country is run for the people of Australia and not run for the people controlling Australia?
Who's the king of the world?
Well,
so to speak.
The House of Rothschild is absolutely
but is there
right in there. Well, the thing is, Bob, that you go on this journey of uncovering, and what you're kind of doing symbolically is you're removing the skins on the onion, and you reach a point where you see Rothschilds, Rockefeller, the royal families of Europe, and that sort of
But not
stuff.
Her Majesty the Queen, surely.
Of course, that whole family's
You're
involved in it.
disillusioned.
Well, you know the royal family. And it came out in the mainstream media this week, and it's been in my books for years. They are related to Vlad Dracul and the original Dracula family from Transylvania. I mean, yes. I mean, Prince Charles this week has come out starting a campaign to save forests in Transylvania because it came out in the story in the British mainstream media that because they are genetically related to these people. And you look what Vlad Dracul was bloody doing.
Vlad the Impaler.
Vlad the Impaler. He was one of history's greatest blood drinkers. This is what these bloodlines do.
Can we do anything? Are you not only exposing, but you're also suggesting a final solution?
Well, what is starting to happen with these protests all around the world is something I've been calling for years, which is non-compliance. I call it the non-comply dance. Where you don't comply with your own enslavement. Because people say, well, they passed the law, so you've got to obey the law. Excuse me, what if they passed a law that they're going to take your children away and they can take it? Would you obey that law? Oh, well, no. Well, there's a line then where we can where you say that you won't cross. Well, let's just see where this line really should be. And if we're saying you can't not obey the law, then we might as well just put the shackles and the chains on now, because we're saying that when a group of people in different parties that are basically masks on the same face, but when they pass a law in Parliament which you've had no say over, and like with Gillard and the carbon tax, you can say that you will never introduce a carbon tax, and then you can go and do it. So elections are a waste of time, because whatever they tell you they'll do to get you vote, they ain't got to do anyway. You had a referendum about the carbon tax, it would have got wiped off the screen. What we need to say is, does this law that this cabal in each country is passing, does it respect human dignity? Does it respect human fairness? Does it respect human justice? And if it doesn't, is this law aimed at taking freedoms away? And if the answer is to the fact that it is, then we should not obey it. And what we're seeing now is large numbers of people around the world, because of their experience in their own lives, are now seeing, actually, that there is this is where the 99% came from. There is a tiny number of people running their lives. And it's not just financially, although that's a major way that they do it.
We've run out of time, unfortunately.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, people can go to davidicke.com or the Lion Sleeps No More tour.com to find out more. Thank you so much for
Been a real pleasure. Thanks.
Thank you.
Nice to meet you, Bob.
Cheers,
mate.
Thank you,
Cheers,
David.
mate.